My name is Rachel Miller. I am 35 years old, and this is the story of the dinner that changed my life. Before I tell you how it all began, let me take you straight to the moment that still makes my hands shake. We were sitting at a long dinner table. The plates were full. The lights were warm. Everyone was smiling. My father lifted his glass and laughed, loud enough for the whole table to hear. "Rachel," he said, shaking his head, "you're 35 and still don't own a penthouse. Look at your sister. She made something of herself." Everyone smiled. Even the waiter paused. My sister smiled the widest. My chest felt tight. My face burned. I could feel old shame crawling up my neck. Then I stood up. And I said very calmly, "Dad, the penthouse you keep praising her for? You've been renting it from me for years." The room went silent. My father froze like stone. My sister's smile disappeared in 1 second. No one spoke. No one breathed. And that was when everything started to fall apart. But let me stop right here. Because what happened next will change how you see this family forever. Before I continue, tell me something. Where are you watching from? The United States? Canada? Somewhere else? I'd love to know. Now let me take you back. Back to the beginning. Back to the girl I was before that dinner table, before the silence, before the truth came knocking. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood with neat lawns and friendly waves. My parents, David and Linda Miller, believed strongly in success. They believed success had a look. Big house. Nice car. Loud title. If you did not show it, you did not have it. My sister Emily understood that early. She was 2 years older than me. She was loud, confident, and always ready to shine. Teachers loved her. Neighbors praised her. My parents talked about her like she was already famous. "She's going places," my dad would say. I was different. I was quiet. I liked books. I liked numbers. I liked sitting alone and thinking. I didn't talk much, but when I did, I listened more than I spoke. My mom often said, "Rachel has a good heart." But she never said I was going places. That was one of the lows of my life. Being invisible in my own home. Still, I believed in kindness. I believed that being gentle mattered. I believed that helping quietly was still helping. After college, Emily moved fast. New job titles. New friends. New pictures online. She dressed sharp. Talked big. Every holiday dinner turned into a stage where she performed success. Rachel, on the other hand, worked in finance. Save. Plan. I invested. I didn't post pictures. I didn't brag. I learned how money really worked. My parents didn't understand that kind of success. They only saw what could be shown. "Emily owns a penthouse," my mom would say proudly. "Rachel rents a small apartment," they thought. They never asked questions. They never listened when I tried to explain. So I stopped explaining. That was another low. Years passed like that. Quiet effort. Quiet wins. Quiet patience. Then came the high. I made one smart decision. Then another. I bought property. And more. I used a company name, not my own. I stayed invisible. Quiet. One of those properties was a beautiful penthouse downtown. And yes, my father rented it. He never knew it was mine. He always talked about how smart the owner was. He liked the place so much that he renewed the lease again and again. And every time he paid rent, he paid it to me. But I never told him. Why? 'Cause I wanted peace. Because I didn't need praise. Because kindness sometimes means staying silent. Or so I thought. Now let's come back to the dinner. It was supposed to be a celebration. Emily had invited everyone. She said she had big news. The table was full of laughter. Glasses clinked. Compliments floated around like music. I was already feeling small when my dad stood up. That's when he said it. That's when he humiliated me. That's when years of silence broke inside my chest. And that's when I stood up and spoke the truth. After I said those words, my dad's hand shook. My mom stared at me like she didn't know me. Emily's face turned pale. But no one said, "Is that true?" Not yet. Instead, my father slowly sat down. He looked at me with eyes I had never seen before. And then, he asked one question. Question that made my heart drop. A question that turned the silence into something dangerous. And that's where I'll stop for now. My father's voice was low, but it cut through the silence like a knife. What do you mean, Rachel? That was the extreme moment. The kind that makes your ears ring. The kind where time slows down. Everyone at the table turned to look at me. Forks hovered in the air. No one dared to chew. Even the waiter stepped back, pretending to wipe a glass while listening closely. I felt my heart beating fast, but my voice stayed calm. I had learned long ago that calm can be powerful. I mean exactly what I said, I replied. The penthouse you live in belongs to me. My mother, Linda, laughed nervously. Rachel, this isn't funny, she said. Why would you joke about something like that at dinner? Emily leaned back in her chair. Her smile was gone now, replaced by a tight line. She crossed her arms and said, Dad, she's just trying to get attention. You know how she is. It hurt. But it wasn't new. This was a low moment. Familiar one. Being doubted. Being spoken over. Being made small again. I looked at my sister, then at my parents. I could see confusion on my dad's face. Not anger yet. Just confusion. I'm not joking, I said gently. And I don't want attention. I just want respect. The table stayed quiet. My dad cleared his throat. Rachel, he said, I sign my checks to a company. I know who I pay rent to. Yes, I nodded. You sign them to Miller Stone Holdings. His eyes narrowed. How do you know that? I took a slow breath. Because I created it. My mom's hand flew to her mouth. Emily sat up straight. That's impossible, she snapped. You don't even own property. I almost smiled at that. Almost. This was the less extreme part. Talking. The denying. The disbelief. It felt strange, like watching a storm build slowly in the distance. I didn't tell you, I said softly. That doesn't mean it isn't true. My dad pushed his chair back slightly. Not fully standing. Not fully sitting. Caught in between. Why would you hide something like that, he asked. That question mattered. And for a moment I didn't answer. Because the truth wasn't about money. It was about years of being unseen. I hid it because every time I tried to speak, I said, I was told I wasn't enough. Because kindness was called weakness. Because quiet work was called nothing. My mom's eyes filled with tears, but she said nothing. Emily rolled her eyes. This is dramatic, she muttered. That was when I felt something shift inside me. I reached into my purse. Slowly, carefully. Everyone watched my hand. I pulled out a thin folder and placed it on the table. This, I said, is a copy of the lease agreement. My dad stared at it. He didn't touch it. I'm not asking you to believe me right now, I continued. I just want you to listen. This was another low. Waiting. Hoping. Standing alone again. My father finally reached forward. His fingers trembled as he opened the folder. Emily leaned over his shoulder, trying to read first. Then she laughed. Anyone can fake papers, she said quickly. Too quickly. My dad didn't laugh. He kept reading. The room felt smaller. Utter. Like the walls were closing in. Then my phone buzzed on the table. A message popped up on the screen. A rent payment alert. From my father. Sent just minutes ago. My dad saw it. He froze. That was the new extreme event. His face went pale. His mouth opened but no sound came out. My mom leaned forward. David, she whispered. Emily grabbed my phone. Give me that, she said. But it was too late. The proof was right there. The table shook as my dad slowly stood up. He looked at me, not with anger, not with pride, but with fear. Rachel, he said, his voice breaking. We need to talk. And at that moment, I knew this dinner was far from over. My father said, Rachel, we need to talk, and every sound in the room disappeared. This was the extreme moment that opened the door to everything we had been hiding for years. He took one step away from the table. His hands were shaking. My mother stood up slowly, like her legs might give out. Emily stayed seated, but her eyes moved fast, going from me to my phone to the folder on the table. "Not here," my dad said. "This is not the place." That was a low moment. Familiar one. When things got uncomfortable, my family always wanted silence. Always wanted to move the problem somewhere else. I shook my head. "You spoke here," I said gently. "You embarrassed me here. So we talk here." No one argued with me. That surprised me. We sat back down. The waiter came over, nervous. "Would you like dessert?" he asked. "No," my dad said quickly. "Please give us a moment." The waiter nodded and walked away fast. I looked around the table. My mom's eyes were wet. My dad wouldn't meet my gaze. Emily's jaw was tight, her fingers tapping the table again and again. This was the quiet part. The heavy part. "I didn't plan to say it like that," I began. "But I didn't plan to be laughed at either." My mom finally spoke. "Rachel, why didn't you tell us?" I thought about that question. I really did. "Because every time I tried to share something important," I said, "it was turned into a comparison. Me versus Emily. Quiet versus loud. Simple versus flashy." Emily scoffed. "Oh please. You always act like a victim." It hurt. But I stayed calm. "This is not about being a victim," I said. "It's about truth. And respect." My dad rubbed his face with both hands. "I praised that penthouse," he said slowly. "I talked about it like it proved something about our family." "Yes," I replied. "You did. And all this time," he continued, "I was paying rent to my own daughter without knowing it." There was shame in his voice. Real shame. That was a high moment for me, but not the kind that feels good. Felt heavy. "I didn't do it to trick you," I said quickly. "I never raised the rent. I never treated you unfairly. I just wanted peace." My mom nodded slowly. "She's right," she whispered. "She never asked us for anything." Emily slammed her hand on the table. "So what? We're supposed to clap now." "She hid it on purpose." I looked at my sister. Really looked at her. "Emily," I said softly, "did you ever ask how I was doing?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. That was a low for her. Could see it. My dad straightened in his chair. "Emily," he said, "you said the penthouse was yours." Emily's eyes widened. "I never said that." "You let us believe it," my dad replied. His voice was calm but firm. The room grew tense. "I worked hard," Emily snapped. "I deserve credit too." "No one is taking your work away," I said. "But don't take mine either." This was another quiet moment. The kind where everyone thinks. Then my mom reached across the table and touched my hand. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't see you." That sentence almost broke me. It was a low and a high at the same time. I squeezed her hand back. "I know," I said. My dad took a deep breath. "Rachel," he said, "I need to understand something. How long have you owned it?" 7 years, I answered. 7, he repeated. He leaned back stunned. "That means," he said slowly, "every holiday, every joke, every time I compared you." He stopped talking. The silence was thick again. Then Emily stood up. "I need air," she said sharply. She grabbed her bag and walked toward the door. Just before she reached it, she turned around. "This isn't over," she said, pointing at me. "You think this makes you better? It doesn't." She walked out. That was the extreme event ending this part of the night. The door slammed. My dad flinched. My mom started to cry. And I sat there, knowing something big had just broken. And something even bigger was about to be revealed next. Because Emily wasn't just angry. She was scared. And I was about to find out why. The door had barely stopped shaking when my mother covered her face and cried. This was the extreme moment that followed Emily's exit. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just raw pain. My father stood up and walked a few steps away from the table. He looked smaller somehow. Older. "I failed you," he said quietly, still facing the wall. I thought pushing you would make you stronger. I didn't know it was breaking you. That was a low moment for all of us. I stood up slowly and walked toward him. Dad, I said. I didn't need pressure. I needed support. He turned around. His eyes were red. Why didn't you say something sooner? I shook my head. I did. Many times. You just didn't hear me. We stood there in silence. Not angry. Just tired. My mom wiped her tears and straightened her back. We raised our children to be kind, she said softly. Somewhere along the way, we forgot to practice it. That sentence stayed in the air like a lesson. We sat back down. The plates were cold now. No one was hungry. This was the quiet part of the storm. I never wanted to embarrass anyone, I said. I only spoke because being silent was hurting me. My dad nodded slowly. I understand that now. For the first time in my life I believed him. Then my phone buzzed again. Message. Not a rent alert this time. Text from Emily. My hand shook as I opened it. Don't trust them. They don't know everything. My heart skipped. What is it? My mom asked, noticing my face. I don't know, I said honestly. But Emily is hiding something. My dad frowned. What could she be hiding? Before I could answer, his phone rang. He looked at the screen. His face changed. What? My mom asked, fear in her voice. It's the bank, he said slowly. They say there's a problem with my account. The room went cold. A problem? My mom repeated. They froze part of it, he said. They're asking about a loan. A loan I never took. My heart started pounding. I looked at my dad. Dad, I said carefully, did Emily ever have access to your accounts? He hesitated. Yes, he admitted. She helped manage some things. I trusted her. That was the new extreme event. The kind that makes you realize the truth hasn't even fully arrived yet. My mom gasped. David, no. The door to the restaurant suddenly opened again. Everyone turned. Emily stood there. Her face was pale. Her eyes were wide. And behind her were two people in suits. One of them spoke. Mr. Miller, he said, we need to talk about some financial irregularities. Emily didn't look at me. She couldn't. And I knew right then that the real truth was finally here. But it was going to hurt everyone. Even me. The two people in suits stood still, waiting. My father's mouth opened, but no words came out. My mother held onto the back of her chair like she might fall. The restaurant felt very small, even though it was full of people. This was the extreme moment everything had been leading to. Please, my dad finally said, his voice shaking. Sit. They sat down slowly. One of them spoke again. There have been unusual loans taken out under your name. Large ones. Over several years. My dad shook his head again and again. I never signed anything. Emily's hands were shaking now. She finally sat down too. She still would not look at me. That money, the man continued, was moved into different accounts. Some of them are connected to property purchases. My heart dropped. I understood before anyone else did. Emily whispered, I was going to fix it. That sentence was a low, very low one. My mother turned to her. Fix what? She asked. Emily broke down crying. I wanted to look successful. I wanted you to be proud. Every time you praised the Penthouse, every time you compared me to Rachel, I felt like I had to keep up. I stayed quiet. Not because I was weak, but because I was listening. I used Dad's credit, Emily continued. I thought I could pay it back before anyone noticed. The room was silent again. My dad sank into his chair. You stole from me, he said softly. Emily cried harder. I was scared. That was the truth. Only. Painful. Real. The people in suits stood up. This can still be handled, one of them said. But honesty must come first. They left their cards and walked away. Another quiet moment followed. Then my dad looked at me. Rachel, he said, you didn't take advantage of us. You protected us. Even when we didn't deserve it. Tears filled my eyes. I didn't want this family to break, I said. I just wanted us to see each other clearly. My mom reached for Emily's hand. We failed you both, she said. We taught you that love had to be earned with things. Emily looked at me for the first time that night. Her eyes were full of shame. I'm sorry, she whispered. He nodded. I forgive you, I said. But things have to change. That was the final high. Not money. Not power. Truth. We didn't fix everything that night. But something important began. Respect. Understanding. Empathy. Sometimes the quiet child is the strongest one in the room. Sometimes kindness is the real wealth. And sometimes the truth comes at dinner, when no one expects it. Hope you enjoy the story. Please like and subscribe to my channel.